Hey everyone, today we're going to be sitting down with Andy Puddicombe. He's the co-founder of Headspace, which is a mindfulness platform that helps you with everything from meditation to sleep to eating and everything in between. So we're really lucky to have him today. He's a great guy, and Headspace is doing some pretty incredible things right now, especially during this time of need where mental health is kind of at the forefront. So super stoked to be talking to him, and check it out. So real quick, so Andy and I, our kids go to school together. So I met Andy on a play date, which again, I think we have.
For our children, just
do
to
we
be clear.
do we miss those at this
The
point?
play dates?
Yeah.
I mean, I miss getting called into school to be told my child's misbehaved and he needs to go home. I miss that a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like my child is your child's whisperer in a way.
Yeah.
They kind of
No,
speak the same language. So whenever he's doing whatever he's doing, she's right there with him. So
it's true. It's true. I do miss those play dates. I miss them. I feel like play dates are as much for us as they are for the kids. I miss them for our kids because I don't know about crew, but definitely for our little ones. You can start to see it now. I thought to begin with, couldn't really see it, but now I start to see like the more time goes by, the more they know that something is not right. And they don't know why they can't see their friends.
yeah.
They don't know why their mum won't let them go near anybody when they walk down the street, and they're not allowed to touch anything. And I think, I think they've lost any sense of normalcy, be outside of the home. So the sooner we can get back to that, the better, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's been a weird change. I think you're in the same boat, but crew wasn't really on technology all that much. We were really, really limited. And now that we're doing virtual schooling and play dates, she's on a device more than we ever wanted her to be. But I also feel like that has changed. Like I feel like the nature of the relationship between people, the technology doesn't feel like technology anymore, because I think we're yearning for that connection, and it's the only way we can get it.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I'm a different kind of attitude maybe to technology. So I know a lot of folks think it's bad. Some folks even think it's kind of evil, and it's going to kind of destroy our children, and it kind of interrupts our life, and is the cause of our stress. I don't believe any of that. I think it's up to each, and so much technology is new, and we have yet to find a way to have a healthy relationship with it.
Yeah.
And I think, like anything, technology can be used for good or bad. I think we're seeing right now loads of examples of the way technology is being used for good.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that off the back of this, we will all kind of reevaluate our relationship with technology and come out of it with a healthier perspective and a healthier relationship.
Yep. 100%. No, it's a good point. I've kind of switched on that, because I think I was one of those people who, it wasn't that I run a tech company as well. So, I don't think technology is the devil. For me, it was the age of someone that I try to have as much analog and manual experiences with her, so she can really train those motor skills and then use technology to enhance that. And I think now we're getting that in real time across the board. So I see a lot of positives, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about too. But before we kind of dive in on that stuff, I did want to look at your background and your experience with isolation. You spent many years as a monk, if people don't know, and many hours a day, basically in relative isolation, meditating. Has that prepared you or given you a different perspective on what this quarantine lifestyle is now that we're all facing?
It's
a lifestyle.
I was joking with my wife the other day, saying that there are very few things that I do well in life, or indeed can do at all. And one of the few things I can do is sit sort of quietly on my own in a confined space. I feel like I was made for this kind of era, actually. No, I mean, look, this is, look, we're we're laughing about. For me, like, sense of humor is essential kind of through.
I agree.
It's something I've talked a lot about over the last couple of weeks in various kind of different situations. So we're all going through this together, but we're not going through it in the same way. So everyone's experience of this is different. So I have met with people who have lost family. Quarantine for them is heartbreaking. They can't even go to the funeral.
Yeah.
Lost. I've met people who have lost their jobs and can't afford to pay their rent. Quarantine for them is a nightmare because they are stuck inside, caught inside their own mind with no way of being able to even go out and try and resolve the things that have happened to them. We as a family are incredibly fortunate. Headspace is one of those companies that actually, in times like this, more than ever, kind of people need some kind of support for their mental and emotional kind of well-being. And we're very fortunate that we have the resources as a company that we're able to sort of to do that. And as a family, we're really fortunate. You know, we live in a house. We have jobs. We have food. We have shelter. Like, we're not kind of experiencing it in the same way that other people are. So, you know, yes, it has helped me, kind of that experience. There's no question. That experience in the monastery helped me, not just with isolation, it's helped me with every kind of aspect of life. But I just want to be really, like, nuanced, I guess, with that answer, that my experience of quarantine is very, very different from, you know, all of our experiences are very different from the next person kind of down the street.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you made that distinction, and it is different, and there's nuance in that for sure. I think when people say, you know, we're all in this together, we certainly are, in the sense that it hasn't leveled the playing field, but it's put all of us on freeze. So, you know, where we were before is either it's heightened in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah.
And we all have to realize that we do have to go back to something. I don't think we're going back to the same world we were living in. And I think that this is giving, you know, and that's a whole nother conversation, but, you know, I guess keeping it on track, with Headspace, I mean, it is really, it's interesting to see which industries and companies kind of rise to the top at a time of crisis. And, you know, mental health is an issue that this country and the world is really facing, in different levels. So I think having something like Headspace to turn to is comfort. And, you know, regardless of circumstance of quarantine, I think we all want comfort, and we all want to kind of help ourselves through this, for whatever that is. So I think it's obvious that you guys would be thriving in this time, and it's nice that you're sensitive to that and knowing that everybody is on a different playing field. To speak about mental health a little bit, and I don't know, I mean, like you said, what you do well is being in an isolated room and being quiet. So maybe you're not ready to give medical advice. But
it was this or prison. I mean, it could have gone either way.
The whole point of this interview is actually to prove to people that you're a human, which it took me a while to realize that, because I just thought you were this voice floating around, but you actually have a head, and it comes with a body. And
better or worse.
It's good shape. So you're good, man. But how does a global pandemic affect mental health? Like, can you speak to that at all? Like, on how something like that?
I can talk about it through the lens of Headspace and what we've sort of seen, you know. So there are aspects, or there are elements of content on the platform that we've seen over 1,000% increase in.
Sorry, hold on one second. Hey, honey. Can you get that, little man? This is what I also love about, like, telecommuting in the new world that we live in. It's like, at some point, crew's gonna fly through here, and, like,
we had the kids dive in on a chat the other day, a live
kind of nice. Again, it just proves we're human, you know. Sorry, you were saying.
No worries. So I think, we've on our platform, we've seen, especially across anxiety and stress content, on some of those media starts, we've seen over 1,000% increase. So it's clear that people are struggling, people are having a hard time, and whether it's people who were already experiencing those things or who were vulnerable and in a position to start experiencing those things when the pandemic began. I don't know about you, I've not spoken to anybody yet who is completely relaxed about this whole thing. No. And I don't think we should be. I don't think it's appropriate in any way to be completely relaxed about it. I was chatting with an ER doctor this morning, and she was saying, like, and rightly so, kind of, it's absolutely appropriate for all of us to feel kind of anxious to some degree. You know, this pandemic potentially threatens not only our own health, but the health of the people around us, and of course, the stability of our life as we know it, whether we think of it in terms of social groups, work, and everything else. So I think it's natural that everyone's going to experience a greater amount of stress, greater amount of anxiety. I think it's impacting a lot of people's sleep. We've seen a huge surge in the amount of content people are using either to get to sleep or to get back to sleep in the middle of the night. Obviously, with kids being at home and off school, we've seen a massive increase in the amount of people using sort of kids' content and trying to find a way of how to bring a greater peace of mind and stability into children's life, and also how to just bring a greater sense of calm and harmony into a household when we're all squeezed together, often in quite small spaces. That can be especially tricky. So I think, the short answer is inevitably mental health and mental health illness tends to increase during a crisis like this. There's no way that it couldn't. Yeah. For me, the important thing is that people have access to the tools, the services that they need. And there's not this kind of assumption, well, it's just like this. There's no point. There's nothing I can do. I think that's such a common feeling. And so for us, the big job has been getting it into the hands for free to the people who need it most, and making sure that they know that there is something you can do about your mental health during a time like this.
That's great, man. Can you talk about that too, a little bit about what Headspace has done with the subscriptions and how you're helping?
Yeah, so we started out probably about 3 weeks ago, a month ago maybe. So we made Headspace free for all healthcare professionals in the US, and we had we built a relationship with the NHS in the UK as well. So it's about 1.5 million healthcare professionals in the UK, about 5 million in the US. We made it free for every single educator in the US as well. Just aware of kind of how difficult that is for schools, for teachers, for student kind of classrooms right now. So we had all that in place anyway. And then we were kind of like, okay, but what about the people who aren't a teacher or aren't? So we built out a whole collection of content called Weathering the Storm. We made it free on the app. It includes content around stress, anxiety, sleep. If you're at home and you can't get to the gym and you want to exercise, there's mindful movement exercises there. There's kids content. So we kind of tried to create a world in which everybody could have access to the tools that they need right now. And then last week, Governor Cuomo's office from New York reached out and said, look, we're really struggling in New York. You know, everywhere's struggling in the world, but right now, of course, New York's the epicenter for the pandemic in the US. And he said, like, what can we do for the people of New York? So again, we created something called New York State of Mind. It's curated content for New York, with some specific content for New York, but it is available and free for everyone. So the governor launched that this morning in his presser, and we launched it on the Today Show this morning. And our hope is that it will reach the people most vulnerable, and it will reach the people who really need those tools right now.
That's amazing, man. Honestly, like, thank you for doing that. I think that's huge.
And it's the team. Like, I often get to sit, I should just say, by the way, like, because I often get to sit in interviews and kind of, you know.
I was just going to talk about that. Yeah.
That's lovely. No, very little of it is me kind of, obviously, Rich and I both care, like, as founders, we care passionately. It's why we started it up, you know, was to be for people to be there for people when they needed us most. And so this felt like a very natural thing to do, but it is the team that stepped up, and they have been working evenings and night times and weekends, We've been having sort of daily stand-ups over the weekend to make sure these types of projects can be finished, because because it's an app, I think very often, and I would have thought the same. Sometimes I still think the same. My engineering team, or our engineering team would hate me for it, but I kind of think, well, why can't you just make it free for all that group over there? Like, it's easy, just make it free.
I've made that mistake myself, yeah.
And it's so complicated when you think of all the different ID numbers and stuff that need to be kind of used. So the team have worked phenomenally hard. I think this is going to change work and the work environment for a lot of people. I would say that I've seen an improvement in team culture through this experience. Everybody coming together, passionate about how this can help others. I think we're more effective. I think we're more efficient. I think we're more productive. And that's with every single person working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points too, back to the whole, all in this together thing. I think it is it's making us kind of like pivot on the fly and be vulnerable and be, we have to iterate more. And in tech, you have to iterate all the time anyways. But I think as a society, we're learning how to iterate on the go. So it's good to hear that, you guys are basically like just trying to figure it out, brainstorm it. And to do that remotely, that was another thing I was really fascinated about is, you have your headquarters in Santa Monica, and there's a lot of people working there. And now I believe you're 100% work from home, and watching you guys still be able to iterate, overnight essentially, and be able to do that. What is that? How has that changed like the fabric of the company and the relationship between employees?
Yeah. So I think it mostly in a positive way, I would say. I think there are some caveats to that, but as I say, I think in terms of how we've come together as a team to make projects happen really, really quickly at speeds that we just couldn't reach before when we were all in the same building. That's really kind of interesting.
That's crazy.
And I guess it's, it is a sense of urgency. You look in the news, you see the stories, and everybody is just kind of working harder and faster. That's not sustainable forever.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. We have a lot of people, mostly in LA, but also in San Fran, New York, and London, and everyone is working from home. I'm the one person who's not. I'm the only person at the studio. So we tried to work out a way before the guys left, and everyone went home for a couple of months. They set up a rig here so that we could continue to film, so that they could access the recording studio remotely. So I'm able to come here and continue kind of creating content as and
That's
when
awesome.
Without continuing to social distance, without touching anything. So it's, in that sense, we're very fortunate. But coming back to the team, I think the hardest thing, I think, was to begin with, and people adapting to that change. And then as time continues, I think the hardest thing is people maintaining the social relationships that exist under the sort of the roof of a business organization.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know we talk a lot about sort of corporations and organizations and businesses. For me, it's still just large groups of people coming together on a daily basis, whatever we're doing. And when that happens, we all tend to share in each other's life in some way. And we share the happy times in life, we share the difficult times in life, and hopefully we're there for one another. So I think that's going to be the hardest thing, how people are able to maintain those close relationships.
Yeah. When you go out there and speak, like you're speaking on behalf of a company and of Headspace, and obviously, right. But I think it's important to really like meet the person. And not just with you, but I mean, in general, in all my meetings now, it's way more of like actual genuine, like, how are you? Like, how's your family? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, and you mean it. Like, not that we didn't before, but it was standard. Like, you get right into it. It's just about the objective of what you're doing. And now I do feel like the nature of conversation and connection is getting more authentic, which is it's wild, man. And I do think, I hope in a time like this that we just find a way to be better across the board.
Yeah. Sorry, Charles. It reminds me of, so I spent you know, and I spent a lot of time living in Russia. And obviously in England, we have this thing where it says, hi, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. Okay, that's it. We don't actually care about how the other person feels. It's just a thing that gets said.
I think that was the first thing you said to me, too.
Well, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I'm fine, thanks.
That's it.
In America, I guess, you know, it's a similar kind of thing. It's, hey, what's up? It's kind of the same thing. Like if I turned to you and said, nothing's up. Why? What do you mean? Kind of like it's the assumption is it's more of it's actually an extension of hello rather than a genuine inquiry as to how a person's feeling. And I remember going the first time I moved to Russia and I saw someone and we were having that exchange and I said, how are you? And they said, really? And I said, yeah. And then they just started talking. And I think, I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes went by. And I was completely confused by the exchange because I didn't really know them that well. And I did want to know, I wanted to know they were okay, but I didn't necessarily want to know about their life in so much detail. And I remember asking someone afterwards and they were like, well, yeah, no, that's how you guys in England, when you ask people how they are, it's more of a kind of, you know, it's a throwaway comment. Over here, if you ask someone how they are, like you want to know. You really want to know. And I think you're right. I think more and more the conversations that are happening now feel a bit more honest, a bit more meaningful, and kind of people genuinely interested in each other's life.
Yeah, I agree, man. I like that. I'd like to attribute some of that to you. And I think that's a good little segue here. I'm gonna quickly read some comments of people's reaction to you. Because I personally really enjoy this. So
are there other people joining us today?
No, not at all. This is not live. This is actually from one of your other interviews. You know, obviously I had to do my homework here and I made the mistake of what? What? Give me the by the way.
Tell me.
Okay, so this is from Mark. Andy Puddicombe is a legend. I really believe this helps so many people and gets people talking. So I agree with the second part, first part.
Yeah, Mark clearly needs to get out a bit more.
I don't know.
No, thank you. That's kind of know that it's a team, not me. You know.
Now this one I could definitely relate to. This is from Rachel. This guy's voice is like heaven to me. I have so many peaceful memories with his voice. Ha ha. That was more relatable. I always joke with you about when we met, like, because I was using Headspace and then we met and then I was like, I can't do this anymore because Andy's basically putting me to bed each night. So I need to.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I always thought it'd be so weird from family or friends or anything like that to use it. And for a while, kind of, my mum was like, I don't know, it's a bit weird, you know. But then my sister and my brother-in-law and stuff were using it, and other people were kind of using it. And then one of my friends who I went to university with the first time around, before like pre-monastic days, different kind of life I was living then, and he said he was using it, and I was kind of mystified because we spend so many nights out getting ridiculously drunk, as you do as a student, and I was like, how do you sit there and kind of and actually, as I've spoken to a lot of friends, kind of for some reason. They don't make that so, and I'm really happy about. Like for me, that's a really good thing. We don't want Headspace to be about a person, so hopefully the voice kind of remains as a separate.
I know the person too well, but yeah, it's I'm getting over it. Yeah. Plus, you have other voices now too, right?
Oh, I thought you meant I did impersonations. We do now have we did a female voice in English, and we have French, German, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese as well.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
I guess there's some long-winded ones that are actually really nice, and there's an overwhelming outpouring of like just genuine feedback about like what Headspace is doing for people. So I think that's great. But Kat says, I would die for Andy Puddicombe. And that I'm
not sure how to take that. I don't know what it means.
No, it made me reevaluate my friendship. Like, should I be as well willing to go?
Definitely not. Do you know what there can't be that many jobs. You know, I feel so lucky that we go into work and there are those types of messages and emails, and I would never have thought, genuinely, I would never have thought that as little meditation as many people are doing on the platform would make as big a difference in people's lives. If you'd have asked me at the very beginning, and admittedly we didn't have a lot of science back then or anything else, but I'm continually blown away by the difference it's made in people's lives. It's far exceeded my expectations, not in terms of how scale or anything like that, but just in individuals' lives.
Yeah.
The fact that the difference it has made is it still continues to surprise me on a daily basis.
So meaning like when you were in the monastery and like the level of meditation you would have to do, and now people are able to go in there and spend 10 minutes a day and have not an equally, rewarding experience, but I mean, it's really making a difference in 10 minutes. Like that's huge.
Now I'm thinking, did I really need to go to the Himalayas? No, I think I think when I left the monastery, I mean, we'd never, in the whole time I was there, I don't think we ever did less than an hour at a time. Kind of, that was like the minimum. And I kind of thought, I just got into a way of thinking that was, when it came to sort of formal meditation, that was what was kind of necessary. And it's been through trial and error that we now offer exercises as short as a minute and 3 minutes and 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And the science is starting to show that, frequency is as important as duration. And so just knowing that people can, this is something people can do in a few minutes a day and still get some real benefit, that's the thing that's exceeded my expectation.
Yeah, that's huge. Great, man. It's a testament to what you've built, and it's really cool to see. All jokes aside, I'm proud of you, buddy.
Hey.
So couple more things if you're willing here. So we, CommonAlly, obviously it's all about finding common ground, and it's about, kind of finding that kernel of connection. We obviously, it's going to be interesting to see like how we come out of this and what that does for the partisanship that we are going through as a country and as a world, really. But, our whole thing is that if you can at least find one thing to connect with, it makes it easier to connect with things after that. So it's all about people coming together. So do you have anything to like advice, recommendations, tips to kind of keep that thread going as far as finding a way to put things aside? That's something I'm really interested in, and I'd just like to hear your perspective, just outside of the pandemic and outside of Headspace, but just more of like what's your advice on like kind of getting to that place where we can agree with people a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it's about as divisive as I've ever seen it. I don't think it's just because we have the ability to see it on social media. I think it has unquestionably changed. I'm mildly obsessed with the idea of in silence we're united, and I'm not suggesting that we all kind of go quiet and all move into a monastery. I know that's not the answer, but I do think there's probably some middle ground there somewhere. And there's a couple of things. I think one, having spent a lot of time living in different countries, traveling around, meeting people of different religions and beliefs, political persuasions, genders, the whole range. When you sit in a room together and you put down all that stuff just to focus on the breath, there is something that connects us all. There is a shared human experience. It's the breath. And it may sound like a very, not particularly interesting kind of thing, but there's something really powerful in that I really love. It's why I love bringing people together to meditate, because it does transcend all the other kind of stuff that's going around in our minds. And I think the more we meditate, the more we start to kind of loosen our sort of shackles on our identity. So most of us have we have a fixed idea of who we are, what we believe in, what we would like the world to be. And because of that, and because of how boxed in we are with that, we find it very difficult to listen to others, to have a genuinely sort of open mind. So I think, although I'm a little bit biased, I think meditation actually is a really great tool for one, learning to listen, because if we can't listen to our own thoughts, there's no way we can listen to the people around us. And it's also an opportunity to not constantly react, not constantly engage, but instead step out of.
Yeah, I could see it translating there as well, where it's not just like meditation for the sake of meditation, but just in the way we have dialogue. I think there has been the omission of thoughtfulness and about actually just thinking about your response and feeling, instead of just jumping and acting and reacting. Like, it's more like, take a pause. What did that person just say to me? How did that make me feel? What does it mean? Respond. And I think, there's been some leadership in private and in government that do that really well, and there's been others who don't. But yeah, I think as a whole, just meditation could certainly do that. But I think in the way we have conversations, like having the same mindset, I think would be important.
Yeah, and look, for people who aren't necessarily regular meditators, people who haven't meditated or who aren't who would never imagine it being part of their lives. Thing is, it's really important to say meditation is not just about the 5 or 10 minutes that you take out of your day to pause. It's how it then shows up, how your mind shows up, how one's mind shows up the rest of the day. For me, that's actually the more important stuff. This thing, we can't have that without this, but this, the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, fine. It's a technique. Anyone can do it. But it's how it shows up in our relationships. It's how it shows up in our communities and how we show up in the world for other people. I think that's where the real benefit of meditation is.
It's great, man. I could not have said that better, nor would I ever try. That was perfect. Well, that's perfect to kind of segue into what I would love if you have a few more minutes. I know you probably do this every time you have to talk to somebody, so your 10 minutes ends up being 24 hours. But I'd like to kind of do, I don't know if we can get into the Take 10, and if you want to speak on that too, I'd love to hear about what you're doing with that project. But if you can give all our allies out there maybe a few minutes of meditation for people who may not have done it or they have and they're looking forward to it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, so Take 10, if people are interested, people want to join once or twice a day. We have a guest joining us, so we do it live on Instagram, on IGTV. And we do some meditation together. And the nice thing is that we were talking about earlier, we're all going through it differently, but we are all in this together. It is a global pandemic. What I love about these daily meditations are we got thousands of people from all over the world showing up and all kind of sitting in silence together. Again, I think that's a really kind of powerful thing. This morning we had an amazing ER doctor from New York who's in quarantine. She's pregnant, tested positive for COVID, thankfully okay at the moment, showing mild symptoms. This afternoon we've got someone who you will know, everybody will know. We try not to say in advance who it's going to be, so it's a nice surprise when you show up. You will know this person and you might enjoy meditating with this person. So every single day, someone different. Normally it's 10 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I'll show you right now, if you like, a simple exercise you can do at home on your own. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, should I? Oh, okay, yeah.
No, I mean, you can keep your jacket on. So the most important thing is that you're comfortable. We're just going to sit for 2 minutes. You can do this sitting up on a chair. You can do it lying down on the floor. However is most comfortable. And I'm going to suggest that you begin with your eyes open rather than your eyes closed, but with a very sort of soft focus that takes in the whole space around you. So without moving your eyes, you're able to see the entire space in front of you. And then just maintaining that soft focus, taking 2 big deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So as you breathe in through the nose, noticing how the body expands as it fills with air. And as you breathe out through the mouth, just noticing how any muscles sort of soften and how the body sinks down into the seat beneath you. And then you can just gently close your eyes with the next out breath. And just take a moment to enjoy that feeling of having stopped. Without having anything to do, not being distracted by anything in particular. And just take the opportunity as well just to check in with the body. So just notice how the body feels, heavy, light, restless, or still. And as you become more aware of those physical sensations, just starting to notice the breath. So, no breathing in any special way, just allowing the body to breathe naturally. We're just noticing how when the body breathes, it creates that rising and falling sensation. So for some people, that's in the chest. Some people, it's in the stomach. If you can't feel anything, you can just gently place your hand on your stomach. And we're just going to rest our attention just for a few seconds on the breath. The mind's going to wander, the mind's going to get distracted. Totally natural. But when you realize it's wandered off, just letting it go and coming back to the breath each time. And then just gently bringing the attention back to the body. Coming back to that feeling of weight, that feeling of connection. And in your own time, just gently opening the eyes again. So, it's quick.
That's wild.
But it feels different, right?
It really does. I'm not easy to tranquilize.
Yeah.
But it really, I think getting past that first step of you're so conscious of everything, like you hear the background noise, you kind of feel your body's tense.
Yeah.
But the breathing does add as almost like a lead blocker in a way and like a guide. Yeah. That's incredible, man. Thank you for all of this. But yeah, really, thanks for everything you guys do. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, buddy.
No worries, man. Anytime. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, man.